Hello and welcome to day 9 of 16 days of activism against violence against women from Life Support. Life Support is a national survivor network set up by two survivors, myself, Alice Smith, and Tina Makeda. And today it's my turn. It's day 9 and I want to talk about loneliness. So I don't really want to specifically talk about the loneliness of being a survivor. So when you leave a domestic abuse situation, not only do you leave your abusive relationship, but you also lose a lot of your network as well. So you may very often lose the network of the people who are friends with the abuser, the family members. Some people actually lose contact with their own children, and it has a wider effect, a ripple effect. Now, you might be saying to me, oh, well, Alice, these films are supposed to be positive. Why are you talking about loneliness? But come on, you felt lonely once last week, whether you're a survivor or not. And the loneliest I've ever felt was in a crowd. It was at London Pride, and there was 50,000 people all taking my photograph, and there was photographers lined up sort of in banks of 3, so there was like rows of 3 all the way down from the national press, and I looked into the eyes of the camera and I felt the most lonely I've ever felt in my life. It was just a really strange thing, but kind of a good lesson as well in loneliness. So what can we do about loneliness? Well, there's a difference between loneliness and feeling alone. And now I don't feel lonely anymore, even though I've got quite a quiet life in recovery, as I've embraced sobriety 2 years, 10 months ago, which made me feel more lonely at first. But it helped me to do what I've never been able to do, which is sit alone. And I found that at the bottom of all my loneliness and all my destructive behaviours, like shagging people and it's a funny word, and drinking to excess and partying and even to a certain extent performing, were all ways of running away from myself. What do I mean by that? Well, I found that I couldn't sit with myself. How did I realise that this was the driver for the whole of my behaviour after 4 decades of feeling lonely? Well, I took away my drink, the bottle was my friend, and I took away dating, and I took away being married to an abuser, which was a really lonely experience, especially in the bedroom. So I took all those things away and I made myself sit with myself, and I didn't like what I found at first, because obviously I had to face myself and face my part in these catastrophe years, which had been several decades. So being alone, now I love being alone, and I think it's every survivor's goal. So I'm not saying that everybody who survives domestic abuse should never be with anyone again, but I do think, and part of Life Support will be suggesting to you that you give yourself 2 good years on your own to actually heal from serious mental abuse and gaslighting, because how can you trust anyone anyway? How can you jump in and trust anyone? And you get this fantastic ability to be able to be alone and to be, I'm not going to say happy, because I'm sort of I don't really like that word in one sense, but you're able to sit alone, you're able to start to ground yourself and balance your feelings and really start to think about the decisions you're making, especially when it comes to relationships. So being lonely and being alone are 2 different things. So I love being alone now. I've got this beautiful place to walk about, and I love being alone in nature, because that has kind of replaced drinking and men. I like to walk about in nature, and it's just very healing. It's very calming. It can refresh you. It can energize you. And especially when it comes to mental health, it can really do something that not a lot of things can do. Partying can't do it. Shagging can't do it. It gets you some sort of connection back with yourself in that silence. So yeah, today it was loneliness, and I feel like I've been really honest today. It's a lonely road sometimes as a survivor, especially if you decide to stay single and do the work on yourself, so that you can, instead of transmitting your traumas and your issues to someone else, you can become a more complete version of yourself. Then if you want to go and find someone, fantastic, but think about a pause. And if you don't like the idea of a pause, just challenge yourself. What don't you like? Come on. It's the lack of money, isn't it, from a partner? It's the lack of, oh, I've had a terrible day today, let me tell you about it. It's the lack of comforts that you sometimes have to go through when you're living alone and you've got to pay your own electricity bill. But come on, girls, it's time to grow up. It's time to get whole. It's time to be alone. Thanks for listening. If you want to know more about life support, we're launching fully in 2020. Sorry about that. And more information at www.goddess.co.uk. Have a lovely day. I'm going to sit and watch the swans. Did you know they mate for life? Oh, I'm coming back as a swan next time. Peace.